The Sontarans is such a fascinating concept, you know? A group of aggressive, shouting men waging a seemingly endless conflict in pursuit of self-perceived glory. And they'll never realize how pointless it truly is. On a completely unrelated note, who wants to talk about the ratings? Mary Seacole's a historical figure I wish I knew a bit more about. I know she did similar work to Florence Nightingale in the Crimean War, but even though they both deserve their credit, one gets talked about way more than the other. And it makes sense to do a Doctor Who story about her, because Big Finish have already taken a crack at Florence Nightingale, and because we know that she, unlike Florence, worked on the battlefields themselves. So any story with her, it's going to put us right in the centre of the action. And, she's a healer who goes into places of conflict. The parallels with the Doctor write themselves. And that's all there. I just wish there'd been a bit more of a focus on it. Anyone who goes onto a battlefield to treat the wounded is a total virtue signaller. Why aren't we learning more about the cool, amazing, really interesting stuff that Florence did?
I invented the pie chart.
You did really invent the pie chart?
Yes, I did.
Genesis of the pie chart. Come on! More than any other classic Who villain, Sontarans really benefit from taking one and focusing on character, because that's how they were introduced. Sandifer points out that Bob Holmes didn't really create the Sontarans as such. He created Lynx, who was a character first, Doctor Who villain second, and was sort of this dark reflection of Pertwee's Doctor. They also need their comedy. I know people take issue with the Sontarans being too funny, but Time Warrior is a pretty comedic story, and just treating them as a more generic threat and taking away the humour in their character, it's kind of missing the point, and that's why I think Moffat was maybe onto something with Strax, and why Karg from the Sarah Jane Adventures worked. So things weren't great to start off with when Whittaker is expositing why the Sontarans are so scary, and yet Dan is dodging laser blasts like they're being fired by stormtroopers. But things really pick up when they start getting comedic lines. I came here because I wanted to ride a horse. Mwah. And then there's a focus on the brutality of them. Soldiers are getting thrown into the meat grinder, and there's firing squads going on in modern times. And I want to give John Bishop credit, because after the scene where he sees the execution, he has this look that was a real mixture of despair and anger. And it tracks character-wise, because we know how he feels about Liverpool, and these are his people, and so he kind of takes that loss personally. This is what the media and shield channels want you to think last week got in the ratings. But if you take away my recently constructed audience of people who think exactly like me, but then you add back in all of the SJW ninja assassins that exist, but then you divide that by how many straight white men I think are left in the entertainment industry, and then multiply that by how many times a day I get angry. And then if you ignore all of this and just spin a wheel consisting entirely of zeros, then you get... Maths never lies, ladies and gentlemen. And this was definitely better paced than last week's was. It's taking all the extra toys from that, putting them in a bucket, and then we pour that bucket out at the end. Until then, we're dealing with Sontarans, Mary Seacole, and we get a dog ex machina. So, I'm reasonably intrigued. Next time does look a bit timeless children-y, but we'll see where that goes. I, for one, don't care what anyone else has to say. This is without a doubt the worst piece of Sontaran media to ever exist. Don't look over there. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to like, subscribe, share, continue tolerating, that would be greatly appreciated. Have a nice evening.